Okay, we need to call our April first meeting to order. We need to approve our minutes from January of 2023.
Thanks to Richard report. Fix these.
To be the episode.
You got all that stuff.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Got a second? Everybody want
Nobody sitting here. Yeah.
On favor?
I
All opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Hey, Granted report?
well, if it's okay to go, I thought I'd just do 3, 4, and 5 first, and then this number 2 there in the workshop. I thought we might have been more special on that, so I'll say that last.
Okay.
All right, so project updates, we've got Mills Park playground. They should be dropping off equipment in the next week or 2, and then they start on dirt work the middle of May. The goal is to keep the park open, keep the playground open while they do most of this construction. There might be some days that we have to close it from working in that area, doing some drainage in that area that we've already completed, phase 1. And our goal was to have it done by the time school's out. It's just not going to happen. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Right, other jobs they had 4 hours, they fit here and stuff. We're going to do our very best to keep the playground operable, but that may be someday. The tennis and pickleball are coming along nicely. They are finishing with fencing. We've got some the lighting is being done. The thing that will keep us waiting is the surfacing, and we are not behind on schedule on that, but we're waiting for the surfacing for it to be on turn, and all the rain got a little bit behind. So hopefully end of April, more than likely early May, early to mid May. We're gonna make the pickleball tournament deal. I'm in communication with them. I told them I'd just keep them up and they think we're going to be fine. But as soon as it looks like it's not going to, we'll have to figure it out. But I think we're going to make that.
So what's predicted that?
It's supposed to be the end of April. But he's doing other jobs and if it rains, if he gets behind the lows and his pitches aren't that, really nothing we can do, just hopefully rain. But both those projects are coming along nicely. I'm looking to see them.
I see that he can. So that's additional data. I mean, the other is staying where it is. It says do anything.
That's exactly right. There's the area in front of the biggest play, Axel,
Right.
the area there, we're trying to get some drainage in there, because that if you notice over the years, it's all that rock and the water's rolling through there. So there's some things they're going to do. So that might be when we have to shut down when they're operating in that area. Most of the work's going to be done in that back area, phase 2, where there's nothing back there that we weren't able to finish and stuff like that. think that's all on the missing projects.
Since I have an update on the appliance.
Yes, they are still waiting, thank you for reminding, we're still waiting on the motors. They're, actually, these, the roof panels, don't, most of them don't work anymore. So, and part of the problem is to design it. So we have, they're coming and rebuilding the motors and putting in new, tracks. But it's just a lead time on the motor. I think when we approved it last year, when council approved it, it was 50-something week lead time, and council approved it. So we're getting close, probably May or June, I would expect for that stuff to be at, it's a Canadian company. So it would get to them then, and then I would probably expect late summer to have some idea of when they would come to do that. Fix those. Thank you, Ryan. All right, the next two, I want to turn it over to Chief to see if they're all work on these two.
So the first one talked about is the current schedule. I just printed off a little chart there for. I know I get asked that from time to time. There's a lot of discussion about the economic impact and the youth sports that we bring into the city and the community, and so just trying to break that down so you can kind of see all the different events that are going on. This is just fishing fun, which is really what we host of environment. So this is not including any soccer, this has been low report. Just visitor that we have to go to Mills or wherever, but these are just the large tournaments and events for fishing. As you can see at the end of the cycle, this goes through the end of August. So we'll have this, which is usually the busiest time. We usually have youth softball in the fall. We've had one or two baseball from time to time in the fall. The gym ends up being, we'll have swimming in the fall. The gym ends up being closed for volleyball and basketball, and you know, once we get through the end of August, so we have some more events there.
Any questions?
Yeah, hold on to it. Anybody ask, or if you're looking for weekends to avoid the it's golfers really like this, so they like to know when it's not going to be overly crowded on the weekend. So that's where we are now. It's always subject to change, but
I do want to say this. There's a couple things. Keith deserves a lot of credit for this our busy schedule. Years ago, it was hard to get tournaments here, very struggling. Now, because of his work and the relationship with softball and baseball tournament directors, know they can trust us and know they can trust him. I mean, they book a year in advance, and then the other was our AMU basketball tournament. Phenomenal, and it really is all about relationships with tournament directors. That they know they're going to come here, facilities are going to be excellent, and they're, their customers trying to think you're going to have a good experience. And then the other thing is just, it's just so important to our field crew. They're just amazing. We, in 5 years, some tournaments don't make, right? But if they don't make, it's not because of us. We haven't had to cancel anything. And we think about our part for flooding in 5 years. If it doesn't make, it's usually because, it is, whether it's bad, I wouldn't go play anywhere, or they don't have enough teams to sign up. And so we've gotten nowhere now. In fact, we've got a cool video about it. We're working on it. We should have said that. We'll send it to you. But we're getting where now. If this park floods on on a Monday, we'll be playing on Wednesday. And which is a really important for these tournament directors, that they know if they book a tournament with us, we're gonna have the place ready, regardless of what's happening. And that just goes back to our field crew, Matt and Dale, who have really figured out how to rebuild these fields in such a way that the flooding doesn't hurt us bad. And then all throughout the years, as we replace the fencing with flooding fencing that gives way and doesn't tear up. I know it's an issue. I know the community people talk about a lot, but we have become experts at getting a farm to just flood and get it flat. So it's, I know this is going to sound a little bit, it's not that big a deal. Like, it's okay. We don't freak out about it. We're like, we've done this, we got this down. And so I just think it's always important to highlight the good work that these guys done.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it a lot easier to convince these tournament directors to come here when they see the facilities and they see the difference. And then that's something, but yeah, the March 4th date, where we hosted baseball and softball on March the 3rd at 9 AM. Those fields were out of water, and they first pitch was at 8 AM on March 4th. I mean, so 20 less than 24 hours later, it would be underwater. They're playing baseball and softball. So, and then yeah, DNT media did a great job of coming out, documenting everything, videoing everything, seeing our crew. And so that, yes, yeah, we'll get that shared with y'all. I just thought about that.
Yeah.
And they did a good job.
Yeah.
Any other questions or anything? Okay, we'll hold on to that, and you'll have it. You'll kind of know what's going on. The other thing is that Chris included the banner here for it, but we received the USA largest swim grant. They are the grant is for $3,600, and I don't know if y'all saw last summer we provided free swim lessons to the Boys and Girls Club kids. We're going to continue that program. Our goal, we kind of just came into it last year, but Boys and Girls Club already have a use agreement with us for free swimming, and a lot of the issue is it wasn't a lot of swimming. There was a lot of free play in the pool, and when you have a lot of non-swimmers, it was becoming a very dangerous situation. And so I got to give all the credit to Christian Robinson, our aquatics coordinator, aquatic superintendent now. She came to me and said, hey, I want to teach these kids how to swim. I want to utilize this time that we have, that they have free play in the pool and start teaching swim lessons with it. And so we kind of went with it, and it ended up being, a really good thing. However, we had to kind of strangle at the last one to find swim instructors, and that's not anybody can just go out and be a swim instructor. And so, after we got through the summer last year, we got the Boys and Girls Club talking about okay, how do we build on this and grow this and make it a bigger thing. And our long-term hope is that if a kid comes through the Boys and Girls Club, we can have 100% that when they leave the Boys and Girls Club, they're swimming, and so anyways, USA Swimming stepped up. Everyone to contribute $3,600 to paying for us to have certified instructors to teach those classes. So that is where that grant is going to go. So so we can continue to grow the learners program with Boys and Girls Club, and that's Bishop as well as the Davis with both sides. They get to as well. We do it actually at Mills. The majority of this, but that's where they don't release. We do a little bit with the old kids over here at Bishop, but yes, the Davis kids, I can do one day a week if they get our Mills. So,
You think any opportunity that might be renewable?
Yes, I think it is something we can apply for every year. So, especially that it's just, they're aware they're paying for personnel, so that, because last year, I'm not Chris will know the exact numbers of how many kids you were supposed to have per instructor, and so we kind of just scratched that a little last year and started, they were not getting the same quality that we get if you were going through our program and doing stuff like that. We were, with the number of kids they have, we were just, with the amount of instructors that we could come up with, we're still getting them something, so the goal is to get enough instructors to where the quality that they're getting is getting better as well. So yeah, that is something every year that we can submit back and show this is what we're using it for, and USA Swimming as well. Okay, it's a great. Absolutely.
That's that in the summertime.
It is, yes.
Will they take computers and meals?
The boys and girls club's always said it. They handle the transportation. Yeah. But some of the, yeah, so we have had that for years with the Boys and Girls Club. They had before, those may open at 10:30 a.m. to the general public. Well, at 9:30 in the morning, before we open the general public, the Boys and Girls Club have the pool is reserved just for the Boys and Girls Club to come in. So we always provided lifeguards and staffing and things like that, so that the Boys and Girls Club come in and play at the pool. It was just because when you have that many kids and the majority of them are non-swimmers, and a lot of the Boys and Girls Club employees and workers that are coming are non-swimmers. And so, it's just like, hey, you know what, we've got them here. Let's do something productive with this time. So, to be honest, at first, the kids were probably like, oh, no, I would rather be playing than doing this. But by the end of the summer, a lot of those kids are learning to swim, and now they can go to the deep end, and now they can go to the slide, and so in the long run, they're like, oh wow, this is a lot. I can enjoy the pool a lot more now that I'm actually safe in the water. So, but yeah, it's an awesome thing, and like I said, that was completely just Kristen being out there one day and going, you know what, let's we took to the Boys and Girls Club, and obviously they were on board with it, so it's been really good.
Yeah, they're about to get really busy as they start their summer program. You kind of get a feel for the rhythm of our life, where we kind of start in February, you start to build activity and busy. And then it starts to slow down around September, and slow down in the fall, and then our winters, pretty slow. But the activity in this park is about to just explode. It's already day to day busy. But it is interesting. We've noticed this year, just our normal baseball, softball night, it seems like more people are out there than there used to be.
It's been nonstop.
And we're senior adult center is busting at the seams. And so is the Boys and Girls Club. And so it's really interesting since we started just little by little, obviously COVID, but it's just since COVID, it's just been a steady climb back to where we were and even more. Across the board, our rentals, our swim lessons, our basketball league is too big.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. And one of the things that we talk about a lot that I think is important is when you say you're from Bryant, most people are talking about they go to Bryant schools, and the school district is huge, right? A great school district. But our community, our town, the town of Bryant is small.
Mhm.
But the expectation, and we're fine with that, is that we serve the size of this school district. And so you see that. I think you see that across the board in everything that's going on. And we're very encouraged by that, but it does bring up challenges. All right, any other questions on those? All right, well, let me talk a little bit about the city council workshop that was held on Thursday. I encourage you to watch it to kind of get a context. I got a few things I want to highlight for you as a committee. Honestly, just to have on the record, I think it's important for you as a committee to kind of hear these things as you process kind of your role. I think we're at an important juncture as a city, and there's some really important decisions that need to be made. And that are gonna be made, and so these are just a few statements I want to make. First, that the Bryant residents expect excellent parks. That is our experience, that they want the best of the best. And I do think as a community, when we built Bishop Park, we communicated to our residents, current, future, that parks are a priority in this community. That when people think about moving here, obviously a school district is the reason they move here, for great public schools. But they also are here for that quality of life. And we play a major role in that. I think you guys understand that. So I think that's important to understand. That's the expectation. And when we talk with our residents about how they engage with the park system, we're compared to the largest park systems in the state. And that's what they expect. Not just with the current parks, but even as we've talked about in the master plan, the expansion. There's a lot of expectation that we expand our park system, north of the interstate, our trail system, all the things we heard in the master planning process that we're still doing. Point is, they expect excellent parks. Second, we are a nonprofit, and that's important. There's a difference between for-profit, private, and non-profit, public. We are not beholden to stakeholders for profit. We are beholden to citizens for service. So as we look at what we offer, we do look at how are we recapturing some of those tax dollars, but we're also looking at accessibility. We've got to serve everybody. And so those things are always coming into in our minds as we process. And one of the things I want you to know is that we do have best practices that we look at. We do have ways that we and guides and standards we look at for ourselves when it comes to self-generated revenue. Okay, we do look at that. That's not our primary purpose, but it's important in what we do. And so the two things we do that we look at standards is how do we compare to our cities that are like ours, right? We look at those numbers and we perform. And we look at the national average. NRPA puts out national average on these things every year. We're always looking at that. We're always tracking that. And we're always 2 or 3% above. Okay. And one of the things that's, if you look at those communities we compete with nationally, most of them have a golf course, a municipal golf course that's bringing a lot of revenue. So it's not always apples to apples. But I do think, I just want you to know, and you go on the record, that that's something we look at, and we do have standards and goals that we try to reach based, and those are the two things we use. And then the third thing I think is really important, and it's not, this isn't a bad thing, but it can muddy the water. I'm the parks director. I'm not the Bryant Park System. None of this is mine. All of this belongs to the residents of Bryant. And so we talk about revenue and that sort of thing. It's not coming to me, right? It's coming to the park system. I don't set the parks budget. Keith and I, with our leadership team, we get from them what they'd like to see in their budgets. We work on that. We've been doing this for a long time. We kind of know the system. And we take that to the mayor and the finance director, and we turn that into them. They take that along with the other department heads' budgets, and they create a balanced budget that then is taken to, we have a workshop you guys attend, and taken to city council for their approval. City council approves our budget, not me. And that's real important as when we start talking about funding and cuts and those sorts of things. I do think it's really important that people know I don't have that kind of power. I don't control the money. Now, once the council approves that in the December meeting, and we go into our next budget year in January, it's our responsibility to live in that budget. That's our job. Okay, and at times when we go over budget on things, we have to go back to council, it's appropriate for them to say, do a better job, right? And I don't have any problem with that, but that's really important, I think, for people to know. I don't have that kind of power. And the last thing I want to say is, summarize all that, under how we are currently functioning, okay? We don't have any dollars in our budget for major capital improvements. In fact, our budget is only operations. The capital improvement line is a different line that I don't even have access to in our system. Okay. We have enough money year to year to take care of what we have the best we can. But there's no capital improvements. Now, if you look at the improvements we've made over the last 5 years, we used bond money to do renovations, Mills Park inclusive playground, to help with Ashley Park renovations, those big projects. Then we used A&P funds to build Alcoa 40, the former A&P tax. We use those funds to do a lot of projects. This out here, the pavilion out here, and then last year we used city savings. That's over. Those funds are gone. We don't have the flexibility as a city to pull a bunch of money from city savings for parks like we used to, which is fine. I'm not making any judgments. I'm just saying it's important that people in Bryant know, you as a committee know, under the way we currently function, what you can expect from us based on our budget is for us to take care of what we have the best we can. You won't see me going to council and asking for money for any big projects anytime soon. Okay. Our budget is very simple. We have $1 million that comes from designated tax. We have $1 million that comes from our self-generated revenue. And then we get about $500,000 from the general fund. So we're operating at 2.5 million. That's operations. Anything above that would be capital improvement, would have to come from some other source. So we're very happy with that. We're doing good work. Obviously, we got a lot of folks that are using our parks that are very engaged and happy with the park system. But I say all that just to say it's important that you are aware of those things as our city council and our mayor are really wrestling with some big decisions. And so I just want to get on the record with those things. And then if you got any questions, kind of that I said you don't understand or whatever, I'm open.
I'm just thinking. What's the question? But do you have any, from an employment standpoint, do you have any openings right now or anything?
No. Nothing full time. We do. I mean, we have got an amazing team. We're really fortunate. When Keith and I started, the turnover was rough. And in fact, I think I was the third parks director in 2 years. Remember? Anyway, so our current team, we've been together for about starting year 8, and even our labor positions we're full, and and it's you can see the benefit of that, not having to bring on new staff and train them. You got a team that's been together. We've been together so long we kind of know what each other's thinking. So, but that's a good question. We'll be hiring a bunch of lifeguards, and then our front desk will have some turnover there now.
Nothing that would challenge the list.
No. In fact, you'll remember, and this is important because you hear people say things about government agencies. We've absorbed 2 full-time positions in the last 3 years. So we've been really lean, when we've had some folks leave for other opportunities. I remember Spencer McCorkle, who did a great job, was assistant director. When he left, we got rid of that position and all of us absorbed a piece of his job. We had a programmer, full-time programmer position. He moved on and Ebony absorbed a lot of his work and other folks. So we've really tried to figure out how the best use of our talent. And some of that does go to that we've been together so long, you know.
Yeah, when we started, there were 21 full-time positions. We're at 18 now. We also absorbed the head lifeguard.
That's right.
We went to a shift leader format where we can have part-timers that can show responsibility and get a pay increase as a part-timer to be a shift one full-time position that's there. So, but yeah, over the years, we've absorbed 3 full-time positions since we've been here, so.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's probably a Jack question. So, be fair. When y'all had the workshop the other day, y'all were talking about going to meet again. Did y'all finalize that y'all are going to meet again?
As far as I've heard, have you heard anything?
Yeah, not.
So would the council be up for like another option than the 3 or 4? The 3 or 4.
Any option would be, unless I'm wrong, any option, viable option is open.
Alright, so the concerns I heard from the options, the 4 options that we're giving was Jordan was concerned about how much it's gonna cost to go out for election, to pass the sales tax, AMP tax. The other one was just sales tax, right? So, and then Rob came out and said, what about going for just a straight parks tax? Is there a way that, my understanding there's a saving? Is there a way parks could pay for the 21,000 for the election
It would come out of general fund.
fund?
Mhm.
So my next question is, could we look forward and write out, when's y'all's next meeting? 31st.
May 31st.
And everything had to be prepared in May, right?
We got
Be prepared to put it on September election,
May 30th.
May 30th. So could we as a parks committee come up with a solution to provide a parks tax? That way the parks will have generated funds. We're not raising the sales tax for the city, since they already said we're one of the highest. And then we could include the Boys and Girls Club, senior citizen.
It would have to be a sales tax, so.
Right, but it'd pretty much be designated for parks.
Right.
All the money would go to parks.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and get the parks out of the general fund.
I think that was one of the options, was for a parks tax.
Can we do an exercise?
Sure. I mean, I'm sorry, you're the chair.
Can we do an exercise? You don't have to vote if you don't want to.
Well, that's fine, but it's either, I mean,
Go ahead, Jack.
go ahead. Okay.
You're the senior on this, right?
As an exercise, give everybody in here the option of all 4 money. I don't want to say money grabs. But let's vote on the plans right here and see where we're standing.
I agree.
My only thing is, I mean.
And you don't have to vote if you don't want
Yeah,
to.
I missed the count.
So you need to explain what we're voting for.
So you've talked about 3 options.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an option for.
Yeah, there was kind of 2 park sales tax options. Either one, it was a park sales tax where everything would be designated to parks would be taken out of general fund. There was a sales tax option where it would go towards fire and police, which would provide more money out of the general fund to go towards parks. There was the increasing of the mills. Your property taxes would go up about $76 a year, but there is a,
Well, we haven't had it.
the meal is only voted on by council, does not go to the people.
That one does
Yes.
Interesting.
Mhm. Now,
So
the two sales taxes would go to the people.
just to clarify that, the city's portion of the millage is so low
Right.
currently that
Right.
that the city can still increase without taking it to the voter. So about the roughly $75 increase that someone will face, that's if you're around a $200,000 home. And that was what the average was a $200,000 home. If you've got a couple of vehicles, personal property, you're looking at about a $75 increase. Which the homestead credit is going up by $50 next year, so that would be another positive to do it now. Because you're about to get a homestead credit that would help offset that increase, so.
From 350 to 400.
375 to 425, I think that's right, yeah, you're close. So,
And then the A and P, which mayor proposed a 3% on hotels. And then kind of left open on the food, we can go up to 3% on food. So that, the hotels really wouldn't affect, this all has to go to a vote of the people. Hotels really wouldn't affect the residents, it would mostly just affect outsiders, but it does not bring in enough income. The food, putting 3% on the food, of course, it would affect the residents, but you can make a choice not to go out to eat or not.
And you've also got interstate traffic coming in, and also you see a sign somewhere and you go, so we wouldn't be paying for everything.
no, and one thing on the A and P is the deficit that the general fund is currently facing. If the A and P is non-designated, then it cannot alleviate that pressure that's on the general. The only way the A and P tax can alleviate the pressure on the general fund is to designate it, at least a portion of it, to parks, so that the money that normally goes to parks out of the general fund can be used to offset some of that deficit they're currently facing. So, and I think that was a little bit of the concern with A and P, is that there were members of the council that did not want A and P to be designated to parks. They wanted that, kind of like it was a few years ago where A and P was open for anybody that wanted to come and ask for those.
Because that was kind of when we were looking at those comparisons of other places,
Mhm.
of other cities, that was kind of some of what we were looking at is what they're like Benton's A and B tax.
And Benton's has changed since we did this the first time.
Really,
Because Benton's A and P built the Benton Event Center. Well, the payment of the Benton Event Center is now finished. They have paid that building off. So a large portion of their A and P has been paying off the Benton Event Center now. They're still gonna pay for the operations of it, but the operations of it are not gonna be near that amount. And so when you see all these plans of Benton Parks is buying this land and they're doing this, that is because that A and P money that has been paying for the Benton Event Center for all these years is now being shifted to parks. And so I spoke to, and I can't remember her name now, but the CFO for Benton. And she said that roughly moving forward, they expect about 70% of their A and P to go to parks. Conway designates 100% of their A and P to parks. And so I talk to those two because those are the ones I deal with the most.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
That
Yes.
was,
Yeah, so, but I do think that a lot of times I think people look at it and go, oh, A and P is the obvious one because, well, we've had that before and, that's what other people have, but there is a lot of concern right now that we're hearing from some members of council that, well, we don't want, that doesn't need to. Well, unfortunately, if it's not designated, it does not solve this problem. And so, a non-designated A and P, although that may be great, doesn't deal with what we are dealing with right now. So.
And I believe we gotta do something pretty soon, or we're gonna be right back to where we were pre-treat years, and I'm sure pre-your years, Keith. If we don't do something pretty soon.
And before we vote, I don't know if I understood the parks only tax. So how does that assess and to whom is it assessed to? I didn't understand.
That would go to a vote of the people. It's a half-cent sales tax.
So whenever they go to the store, anytime they, what, buy, like if they go to Walmart or Edwards.
Then the city limits.
Yeah.
In the city limits.
Mhm.
So you just see a new tax on your
Yeah,
receipt, okay.
of a half cent.
But instead of for going the half cent on for the, like we originally were planning. This time, just the half cent goes directly to the park.
Right, it all go to park.
Yeah.
That would put us at a $5 million a year budget. And with that money, with obviously, we're operating right now. You know, you start talking about 2.5 for operations, 2.5 for improvements, then you know, we basically take the master plan that we've been working on and we start to prioritize. That's where this committee will come in big time, helping set those priorities and helping get those projects done over the course of time. Obviously, it's not like bond money where you get $20-30 million in one hit, you do a bunch, big, but over time, would change things. I can't encourage you to do anything really.
But it could also encourage, you could also put it in to do the Boys and Girls Club, help the senior citizens group out. And the national. historic thing.
I like that idea, but if it passes. If it didn't pass, then I like the idea of the council voting to do the mills, but would the council do that? That's another thing, that's where,
It's hard,
you know,
I mean,
it's, right.
I will speak from what was said during the workshop.
Uh-huh.
I do think that council is open to doing that because they can control that.
Uh-huh.
One thing we left out is that doesn't fill the gap.
Okay.
Right, that just gets us.
The money that the city is currently short. The millage increase, unless you increased it above what Benton's is. What was proposed was raising the millage to match what Benton's currently is. The dollar amount still, you're still short. So that's where, when Chris says the budget's gonna be tight, that's actually assuming that council will pass the millage. So yes, you know, they can get it there, but it would involve going above Benton's, and you're talking about an increase that hasn't happened. What was the year, Jack?
96.
An increase that hasn't happened since '96, and now you're gonna not just increase, but you're gonna
Right,
increase a lot. So, but yes,
okay, so do you want us to?
I got one more thing. Can the council have, I know they passed, they were looking at what, 3.88 or something like that? Does the council still vote on if they went all the way up to the 5%?
Yes.
Okay.
Then what's the limit on that 5 times so that we could raise it?
You can only raise it to 5. So if they raised it this year to 3.8, you know, they could reassess it next year and go to 4, or reassess it next year and go to 5. Just cannot go above 5 without a vote of people.
Okay.
And I don't want everybody to think you must be finished. Vote right now, but I want you to think about it.
Yeah.
And let it simmer.
Yeah. And there is an option of doing a little bit of this one and a little bit of this one, and you know, do 3.8 mils plus the parks tax, or 3.8 mils plus the A&P. So there's that option also.
And one of the reasons why I want to do this little exercise is when they passed the A&P without a voter driven vote, then I don't think that we could pass, I don't think we could pass anything right now, voter driven,
Mhm.
because of COVID, because of people are, their budgets are just as tight as everybody else's. And it's has to go on. And a lot of people don't even know this is over here, so.
And I think that was Jordan's concern in the meeting, is that we would spend the taxpayers' money approximately or over $20,000 to do the tax, and then it failed.
Right.
Money we can have. And then you've also got other costs in there, which would be advertising to get the word out. There's a lot of moving parts.
The knowledge increases are still fine. But I hope I'm.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big political suicide, you know,
Yeah.
kind of the news.
But it's fun, but then you can also see the product of it when you drive around our whole schools.
Well, that's where you,
Could say it in the park, something like that.
that's where you
That's
have
where you can get some
some
advertising.
advertising to show what we're gonna do, how we're gonna improve it, what it's gonna look like, how it's gonna affect your life. There's many moving parts.
And when you look at, because it's gonna increase your property value in the long run,
Yeah.
you got.
And if you put that out there and you start showing that and you show that. I'm not trying to be biased here, but I like the millage on the property tax, real estate,
Because
because it's expensive on so overdue.
Yeah.
And
you said it's 96,
it's-
because, yeah,
Right.
it's about time, maybe.
Yeah, it's, yeah, I don't remember the exact date, but it's been over 20 years.
so, and nothing else has not gone up, nothing else has not gone up. It's cost the government 3 cents to make a penny, so. What do you got to say?
I'm just taking it all in. Yeah,
Absorbing.
yes, very much.
Yeah.
But whatever they decide on, they can't start until January 1st. Right.
Alright. Yeah. I would say we would put a stipulation there as a, it's an emergency clause and. Draft it.
I know.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I had no idea this was gonna be this tough. When I first came in, I thought. I know what's best, but I know that the parks need this money and I'll just impose this little load here and put it on everybody and they'll see the end product. That's not the way to do it. I don't know what everybody wants.
Understand.
Impact the tourists more than the patrons. I mean, because they're the ones who are using a lot of it.
Well,
Or they
you
come
know,
in, like
that's,
looking at these tournaments, you look at, I mean, yeah, it's locals and it's nice that we had it, so then. It's like when my boys were playing, it was always nice when we had a tournament here, so you didn't have to spend your money, you know, you didn't have to spend your money on hotels that weekend. But same thing with AAU ball, I mean, we did that too, so it is nice. And it's, you know, you're paying for what you're using.
it's gonna be expensive. You have to let the, turn somewhere.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Whether you spend on or shall weekend, or. You gotta be at work or you gotta go to some expensive place like my kids like to do.
And I feel like, you know, I'm gonna keep going with Chick-fil-A. And I'm gonna say, why don't Chick-fil-A raise the price 23 cents? Or
Yeah.
one idea, right? And
And
I'm gonna continue to pay it and continue to go.
You don't have to like it, but you gotta eat.
Right, but you know, at least that you would have a choice of, I can't afford that 23 cents anymore, I'm gonna go home and make a sandwich.
Yeah.
You have that choice.
But that has to go to the voters.
Yes.
What happened was whoever sponsored the bill, you may know. You may follow culture and I did, but I followed pretty close. On Thursday, Senate bill or House. No, it was Senate bill 1027 passed. And on Friday, Senate bill, House bill 1027 passed in one day. On Monday. It was done.
Yeah.
Now, part of that's our governor,
Everything was.
but that's pretty quick, and I think that's what I'm judging my heart says that we can't pass a tax, whether we know better or not.
Not necessarily.
What else?
We can't. have an opinion about the traffic. You can't. You might want, you guys can have all the opinion you want. I'm here as the parks director. I cannot have.
Well, I got another question. Okay, y'all passed the millage, starts in January. All right, do we have to go? The millage, which we're gonna propose, quote, the 3.8, that just gets us by.
Does not even get a sign.
So it doesn't get us by.
That gets close.
So it doesn't get us close, so does that mean we have to go all the way 365 days again?
Yes.
Before, by then, my personal opinion. We're dang near back to where we were 8, 9, 10 years ago on our stuff starting to go downhill. We're still not able to fulfill. Does that pay the police and fire for the millage? It's the 3.8. Does that cover the police and fire? So
Well,
we're really not even.
when we talk about covering the police and fire, police and fire have been given a raise.
Right,
Which causes a deficit in our budget.
right.
So that does not, the millage would not cover the deficit in our budget. It's just a different raise.
You know,
Yeah, where's the rest of that money could come from then, to make up the debt? Because some of the people,
Stop giving money to Boys and Girls Club,
and all that's gonna do is hurt
Senior Club.
hurt the city when you start pulling money from the seniors and the boys and girls clubs. And,
But there's.
Cuts, don't make cuts, or.
yeah, I mean, then you're gonna make cuts on your staff, and that just looks bad for the city reputation, I think. I mean, we're going good and strong. We're well known in the city of Bryant. I mean, it's a family town, in my opinion. I mean, my grandparents were here in the 30s and 40s, just retired from Bryant schools at 86 years old. And, yeah. So I don't see a way that we can take a step back. I think we have to make a step forward. I know it's horrible to.
We've got to do an educated yes on everything. And be specific about everything.
And I mean, I do think, talking to other council members, and I've told Chris that if we do go for a tax, just to get us ahead. I mean, I think it needs to be like line item where the citizens of Bryant, they need to know, hey, we're gonna build a park on the north side of 30. We're gonna build north side there. We're gonna fix the basketball courts at Mills Park. We're gonna do A, B, C, D, and it be broke out. And then that way we leave it up to the citizens of Bryant on what they want.
Which then you gotta do, you have to pay for your advertising, doing all that.
Right.
We're ready to run like that airplane over
And I mean, we got Renee Curtis right here that can get up there. We heard her talking just a second ago. My personal opinion is if we wait 2 years, because basically this year's a wash. Past the millage, next year's gonna be a wash. That's 2 years that we're getting further behind. I just don't know if I think it'd be tough and look bad in the city if we have to start doing hiring freezes, like getting rid of positions. I mean, because let me tell you, I'm proud of our water system right now, because I got my water bill today, and it was $68. It has been $130, $140.
But yeah.
I mean, our city's done something right, the water is, I think it's time to help our parks out.
are you making a motion or anything? Just.
I mean, I would like to move forward and get a group together and talk to the council members, and I don't know how all this works. It's only my 3rd month in this group.
Well, you could,
I think the parks as a committee could make a motion for a recommendation to the city council of what you would like to do.
like what water does.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can make a motion.
You need to, if you're gonna do that, you need to add that to the agenda.
to the, city council agenda?
No, but this.
Okay.
Under new business, you need another motion to add that to the agenda, and then you would need to decide what you're recommending.
Cause they're voting in April,
Well, they're gonna have
Ratings.
3 readings.
Mhm.
What have
What
you-
are-
you said,
That done, it's done one, and it's done a workshop. That doesn't count,
right.
does it?
No, so wait, are you referring to the millage?
Anyhow,
So the millage would be 3 readings, if a sales tax is going to go. Council has to make a motion on that either in April or a special meeting in May. Because.
To get it on the-
It has to be on the ballot.
We have to have an ordinance to the clerk by May 30th to be on a September ballot.
we're also doing, suspending the rules. Of the first, or the second, third readings.
But yeah, that'll be on the sales tax, ones, yeah.
I'm
The
really
millage is a good
idea.
What is all that?
Well, you, on an ordinance or something like that, you think about old school, you know, they would read it 3 times before they voted on it because we didn't have.
Like 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. It gives people a chance to process it and come and make their comments, but a lot of times when it's not, that it's not, you know, it's not complicated or.
That's also spend the other 2 and just
They'll just-
push it on through.
So the city tax would be designated, the half cent would be designated to parks.
3 million a year.
Okay. So then does that alleviate the deficit?
And would still put parks in a situation where like the capital, like the master plan and things like that would still be options on the table.
I think we've gotten in the last couple of years. You know, we get $500,000 a year for operations, and we've probably gotten another 2 million. Not quite,
Total,
no,
yeah,
capital 2,
yes, but you're saying total over that course.
Yeah.
We get roughly probably about on average 750,000 a year per capital.
so we're getting, oh, you know, 1.25 million from the general fund every year. But most of that is from the savings that's been built up over time.
Yeah.
So that would be, it would get us completely out of that. And it would give us enough money to do more.
So if it's the city tax, that has to be, the council has to vote that would be designated to city parks, or it would just all.
I think it would be in the ordinance, actually, is that right? It'd be in the ordinance on how it would be written in the ballot.
Gotcha.
And I also think that we need to have, if we do vote to get this done, we need to make sure we have a strong presence at the council meeting to be able to demonstrate, oh, is this our support to, so, Curtis, I need your support. Your good speaking skills up there,
Oh, that's.
bring Scott, bring kids, bring everybody. And make sure we have, yeah, make sure we have a good support to show that the council, look, we feel strong about this and we feel in our hearts that we needed this to happen or something happen.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
That you would be really
You got
good.
support me on it?
I will support you, but you're gonna be up there talking.
Oh,
Yeah, you sound like you're doing really good.
Turn around, my baby. Renee, don't you have something to get up here and say? You have something?
Pick up the dog and pony show the back.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about it. And I think if we show that, I think it'll help the council.
And you know, and those of you that still are connected to some baseball team or some basketball team or whatever, have an income there.
Yeah.
I think it's not,
You get kids involved.
Right.
That's where you get some.
And I mean, I think you could sell it, you have the seniors, if the seniors roll into it.
you sell it, you sell.
The Boys and Girls Club.
Wait,
Well, and we
They'll do it for the bank.
we have a close enough relationship with all the associations. There's things they would like to see done. Well, and not just the association, but all the different groups that use our parks, they do have requests, right?
Mhm.
Dog park folks, pickleball. You know, I've had a pickleball person reach out to me and say, you know, we really love that you're doing that, but you need to build more. So they're not even done yet and they want more, which is just normal. Like that is part of soccer, plus at the same. So all these groups have made requests and we know those. And those are usually what we put in our capital improvement plan that we presented every year that we just keep adding to. So what you're talking about, a list of projects, especially since we do have the master plan pretty much done. We have those readily available. And I will say this big picture, you know, you talked about before us, you know, it's between from 2008 and 2016 or 17 really. I think it was $88,000 was spent on Parks capital improvements. And that was, and it was during that time that Ashley Park fell into disrepair and Alcoa 40 fell into disrepair. And this park began to show its age. And that it goes back to what I was saying, that when you have only operations budget, you don't have 50 grand to put up new backstops, but the backstops wear out, right? And it looks, the facilities look great, but they're used. And so I do, you know, I'm not trying to do something, you know, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but we've seen that happen, right? And we caught up when we got 4.5 to 5 million, maybe. I think it was 5, close to 5 in the bond that was voted on that built this place, reissued, and part of it went to Parkway, part of it went to fire stations, part of it went to parks. We caught up with that money from those years we didn't have capital, and then little by little we've done little things over the last few, and that's why, you know, I was saying that pot of money is gone, and you know we've seen what will happen if you don't have that repair. It's just like owning a house, right? You're going to have to keep making repairs on your house, or it's going to be, things become problematic. I mean, right now we need new backstop netting on the A complex, because when we replaced all the backstop netting in the park in 2018, those were still good. Well, now those have worn out, and so those need to be replaced. We are.
How much are they?
Well, that's probably about 30 grand, maybe 40 to just do the A complex.
We just spent 30 grand.
And then the pool pack is, you know, it's not gonna live forever.
And it need to be changed out.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Personally, I know it need to be changed out years ago.
Yeah, you worked on it. We've kept it alive, but those things have a lifespan. And if that goes, then the pool is shut down. It becomes a greenhouse. It rains in the building. And so that stuff like that, you know, we know it's coming. We'd like to be able to put together plans to replace it before it goes out. There's a lot of stuff like that upkeep, and we've invested a lot in this in our parks department, and this community's invested in it, and I don't think anybody wants to see it fall in disrepair. Nobody wants that, but a lot of times folks don't know the reality of the budget.
But they have to understand how the money's being spent. They have to
Right.
understand, why do we need to do this? Why is there a deficit over here that we're having to make up for? That's a piece that they have to understand, that it's a deficit because we can maintain, but it's the improvements that you're looking towards so that you can continue to grow and expand.
Right.
Is that where we fall into Ashley to help us write that out? To demonstrate all that? Look at her eyes over there. I'm horrible writing it out. I'll explain it all day long, but writing it out.
I think if you as a committee pass a motion and you're going to be presenting to council in April, I think it's our job to help you have all the information you need to put something together.
What's that name?
April 30th.
Last Tuesday.
Tuesday of the month.
That's pretty funny, yeah.
The 25th.
It's 30th in May.
Okay.
25th?
30th of May, you're right. Yes, from April 25th.
All runs they got.
It would be 2 weeks from today.
And you said, what was that, no, 80? What'd you say in what year? The last time you went to Ashley Park,
Oh, 08, this place was built in 08, and then I think we got the bond money started rolling in 17.
so what was, how much was the 08, was the,
Between 08 and 16, it was $88,000 was.
Total.
okay, and where are we at right now?
Over the last, since 17 to now. I went to math, be 4.5 and then another. 7 million,
Well, 11 now.
close to that, maybe 10, I had to put it at 10 million between bond money. A&P and city savings. Probably a little bit, I can get
If
you
you go
that,
over
I
and get that.
can get you exactly.
Well, because if you show what you've done.
Right.
And then what you need to do, and what you have to have.
Yeah.
That's where.
Yeah,
Anyway, into
we can show exactly what all those,
You
every
gotta
fund.
get all your target. It's like we were talking about, you gotta hit your grandparents are the ones paying the taxes, I mean, a lot of times. And so they're the ones that are still here, but they gotta see. Cause I'm gonna tell you, but if the senior citizen, the center is impacted by this, they're big voters right there.
They right,
But you gotta hit one of those target audiences to get them to. Be
and,
on.
and, the groups he mentioned. The Senior Adult Center, the Boys and Girls Club, and the Historical Society, they're already partners of ours.
Right.
And so getting us out of the general fund would allow the general fund to give those partners more money than they get currently to provide the
Now, the
program.
senior citizen center, the seniors still benefit from parts.
Yes, but that's, that's what I'm saying.
They
They,
receive an actual check from the
Yeah.
city, but then as far as like us paying utilities or things like that, servicing like that, that's our agreement with this.
Gotcha.
and the way we've always looked at it is these services would need to be provided if they weren't here, the Parks Department would. So it is an extension of our programming, what they do. So that would definitely impact them. You know, them, with the money they receive every year, I'm sure would increase from the city, and then what we can provide for them, like, again, this is just a simple example. Senior adult centers wanting to expand the audio in the senior center, because when they have dances on Saturday night, the speakers are up front, right? And so they're blowing the people out and sit up front, and the people on the way back keep saying, turn it up. So we looked at it the other day, a system that would have different zones, and it's in the, if we had the funding, that would be, no brainer. You get the design, you put it out to bid, you get it done. You don't even, you just knock it out. But it's things like that, and some of that has to do with the fact that there are more demands on the facility than there's ever been. So you're always needing to make adjustments.
yeah, we have more senior citizens than there now, than
Oh,
what we've ever had.
it is.
Well, I think your silver sneakers is doing pretty good.
Silver sneakers is great. I mean, that is our wheelhouse.
Cause you got like these retired teachers that are,
Oh, yeah.
55, 65.
Yeah.
That,
They love it over here.
Yeah.
They love it.
that's some of mine. I'm sure first. I still have 5 years, however, they're already. They're moving away from
And
me.
you're gonna be in I'll see you in the silver splash.
I will put, I will put there, 5 years.
Now, do we, I guess everybody, do we need to be prepared to be able to push a particular option, or we just go in there and say, we want all options?
Or you have a portion of two,
Pushing it to.
you know, that's one of
That's
the.
what we
And
need
the other
to,
thing I thought about was an AP, is that, does that have a term limit, or it just goes until it's abolished or whatever?
Right, exactly.
That's what, like a sunset, you know, years ago. there was one
He would put that in.
sunset
You
clause.
can add a sunset clause or you can not have a sunset clause. If you don't have a sunset clause, then it just continues.
Didn't I hear something about, there's an age limit on the millage. That it doesn't pertain to over 65,
65 and over.
so their rate
Not
won't
the
go up,
increase, right.
their increase, so that could work in favor for.
This one.
Mm.
Bullet points.
our community.
You got, I mean, you got to, because
Right.
when we did the millage, that was, I mean, we talked to band group, the football group, I mean, the seniors included that part about over a certain age, I mean.
Yeah, and that would be, you know, that you as a committee would, I mean, as the parks director, I can show up and give information. Any kind of real pitch, you know, vote for this would need to come from you.
From the citizens.
From the residents, yes, or elected officials, elected
Right.
officials can do the campaign, I can't. But I'm, you know, I'm happy to do whatever you guys would need me to do and keep do for education purposes, explaining funding, explaining what it would go to. That's what I'm thinking.
One of the other two options we talked about, like, the tax, millage.
There was the second city tax, that would go towards fire and police pensions and stuff, which would take a burden off of the general fund. So the general fund could be used, that money could be used for other things,
Like parks.
like parks, but it wouldn't
Not
be,
necessarily.
there was be no designation for parks.
Right.
So there's no guarantee that that money would go to parks, but it would open up general fund, and I believe the mayor has stated he would support parks with that money.
Gotcha.
What did there was two officer or council members, what did they say about, they were kind of in disagreement for the AMP to be designated for parks because
Well,
it's meant for some.
part of it was. The committee was, do you have a history on that?
My understanding is that those two council members believe that if you're gonna designate it to parks, they believe that A&P is not a parks tax. And if we want to designate it to parks, that we should go
With the parks.
with a parks tax. Where it's specifically laid out designated to parks. That was my understanding of their comments. That if they were to go in A&P, they would not want it to be designated.
What you think?
None. I gotta think, I don't need it.
Well, so do I, sometimes it gets me in a lot of trouble, that's
That's
why
why
I said, what's I did. What's our next step? Make a motion?
yes,
You want, if you want to add something to the agenda.
To our agenda tonight.
Oh, tonight,
You got to talk about it, so you can be there if you want.
yeah, so that,
I think we need to be there until we, my personal opinion, what you think of that?
Yeah, but we need to have an idea.
What we're going to.
What we're going to do.
Which,
Because if we're not all in agreement on it.
Right.
Yeah, just a couple of things that's informative, as Chris said. This is citywide. You're not going, the A&P, any sales tax has to go to the voter.
Right.
You're not taking more than one tax from the voter. The city as a whole has, if there's going to
Right,
be one of
you gotta
those,
pick one.
if there's going to be one of those, the city as a whole has to pick one. And everyone has to be in agreement. If, whether it's Parks Committee, whether it's City Council, whether, if there's division on that, you're not going to have any success taking it to the voter. So I think that as Renee said, you know. If you're going to make a motion, like everyone needs to be in agreement. If not, I would not.
Yeah.
You know, if this room's gonna be divided, I would not take that to council until everyone feels educated and knowledgeable enough to all be on the same page.
I guess I kind of would like to see more of the numbers of how the impact, how these four things are going to impact. Because when you look at that millage and you say, okay, it's going up to 3.8, but yet it's not going to, and it may have been, was it on the agenda?
Yeah,
Was it on the council agenda
there's a one page,
that shows all of that?
we could print that out real quick and let's look at it.
Because that, to me, kind of.
Yeah,
That
I
if you
agree.
see numbers that. helps me.
Yeah, it helped me a lot too when I saw, I think it was on the city council agenda, it was the first page. And it just laid it out side by side, visually.
That's all the impact. Because I'm kind of that same thought, I don't see the point in doing something if it's not, I mean, to help long term. I don't like band-aid fixes, and I feel like as a district, we're finally kind of passing that.
Right.
I feel like right now, we're kind of past that now. The way some of the legislation came out, I don't know.
You'll stay ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns out there.
That's really another thing.
Not a lot of unknowns in this district, I'm talking is.
No, I know.
I mean.
I'm tracking with you.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't got any other, no, I pulled the first page from the packet from the other night. You sent it to the right email, I didn't get anything.
Another great service.
But then that's-
It's built out of.
But there's something. It says discussion on for employees. Fire station grade.
Okay, there was something handed out at the workshop.
The,
We did that.
yeah, Joy, one sheet comparison, and it kind of said like, so we talked about a $200,000 home. Then that would probably, because that's the average, you know, you're talking about $75, probably total. Actually 25 once you accept your $50
Right.
increase in credit. And then she broke that down as to on a half-cent sales tax, how much you would need to spend on groceries or whatever else to build that, yeah, and then same for restaurants and stuff like that.
Chick-fil-A.
This one's saying. Lord, my grace.
Yeah, Joy.
City, finance director.
Which, so as you kind of go through it, she broke it down, instead of dealing with like the different option for a sales tax, she merged those into one, because in reality, where the money goes doesn't, what affects the user is going to be the same. A half-cent sales tax is a half-cent sales tax, where how you choose to designate that, you know, doesn't really change how the resident is impacted.
Tax.
That's right. Yeah, so she broke it down to the millage increase and then A&P and then sales and use tax. And so if you listen to Joy over the years, she's talked about the need to diversify our funding because we're so dependent on the sales tax. So that's why the millage, she put that at the top there in green. And then also at the bottom in green that it doesn't require going to the voter. The council can pass that as long as they don't go up to 5 mils. But kind of that fourth row there is where she broke it down. If you go across there,
We have that report, right?
Fourth down.
no, fourth row down. Like, yeah, if you go road.
We were.
Yes, so, sorry, yeah, so, sorry, Ward Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, first column. So that's where she kind of broke it down that, that millage increase would be, $75 a year for the normal, average front resident, or $625 a month. Where that compares to the other thing, so in order to see that same impact, you would have to spend $5,000 a year, or what is that, $600 a month on restaurants or hotels in Bryant to get there. If you feel like you spend less than $600 a month on restaurants or hotels in Bryant, then your impact would be less than $75 a year. And then same for sales and use tax. If you spend $15,000 a year, which is, dang, where's that? Was that about $1,250 a month? I think, whatever that, don't quote me on that. I'm trying to do my head here. That would be the impact there as well. So she was trying to kind of compare how does that affect the user, and you see it that, and I think that she was just finding the amount of money that would be the same as what the millage impact is where she came from that. I don't know if that was necessarily what she feels like people average out spending on those.
And the caveat to that is, if you're spending $75, or what you said, the grand total was 6,000
I'm sorry, which
for eating out.
eating out was 600, is 5,000 or 600 a month. I think of it in months terms because that's when I pay my credit card bill. So I know kind of how much I spend a month.
If you're spending that much, it's not gonna matter.
Yeah, but I don't think I spend, I would hate to know if I spend 5,000 a year on eating out.
I got some that do.
Yeah, I know my family does.
Yeah.
Well, well.
And then you got a family of four, it's already,
We're a family of two, so.
And that one, so you think about it, yeah.
Biggest advantage to that one though is the, like I said, you're saying tourists, so, right?
Mhm.
That's what you looked at.
They would bear the brunt of the
Right,
bill.
right. I did, yeah.
So if council passed the 3.8 millage, which does not require a vote, and then we did the A&P tax, which does require a vote, that would cover the deficit in the budget. So the two of those would.
Yes. Yeah, what she put there in row 3, column 2, is that if you designated 40% of that to parks, it would, along with the millage, would cover.
So that's where the.
Yeah.
Combo thing comes in.
Now, I mean, that would still involve designating 40%, and they'll be matching Benton's A&P on restaurants, not going the full 3%.
And the other part is, we don't want to be labeled as the highest tax cap in the county. At city. To me, that's no. I don't want to be that.
Jack, what would you say, I actually took this too,
That's
feeling of the council towards an A and B, or not the feeling? What have they expressed about the A and B?
Well, before,
Can't tell what they're feeling.
Well, I got from the meeting, and this was from 2 council members. I didn't get this from every council member. A lot of council members didn't speak up. But from the 2 that I heard from, to me, I felt like they felt they were okay with an A&P tax. They wanted an A&P tax. They did not want it designated parks. So we were good with an A&P tax, but did not want it designated, which does not help our budget.
Right, and it doesn't help anything with parks. I mean, cause there could be a chance that parks get 0. Right. Right, there, we're waiting on your answer.
I'm not gonna. I'll just say some of them got their feelings hurt when. Before, when the committee had the say so on how we spent the money, that's what I got.
Yes, for the old sport.
They didn't want to put any kind of restrictions on the commission being able to designate where that money comes.
Thank you.
But at some point, you have to decide. We, since, I mean, they just wanna do it together or whatever.
Commission would have full, if it's not designated, commission would have full control over where the funds went. So,
See,
yeah,
part of that goes back to. The air show. They got some money.
Cause it's really appealing to the commission. I mean, it was the same ones. If you don't.
I'm all for that air show.
I think there's a lot in the air to really fly.
I think what is that?
Yes, they were. I think that's what this contained.
Look, if you wanna process this and meet again before the council meeting. You can do that, you can call a meeting. Just to make a decision about this, or you can show up as individuals and share your. Whatever.
I think be more supportive and as a team or a group than individuals, not personally.
You can't come as a group and speak or something without actually having a motion on the table,
Right.
you know?
right.
Oh, God, plans.
And
Yeah, but I agree, I mean, it would be, Every way, if, the committee.
Yeah.
Makes it official. And it would become, I think this is right, actually, it would go on the agenda.
Mhm.
It would go on the council's agenda as something coming from a committee.
Yes, if there's a motion to put it, yes, if there's a motion for that.
And if you go to public comments and you got public comments and they could just kind of take away.
Right,
Not be.
I think it needs to be an agenda and not just somebody to put a gap in.
Let me ask, that fourth option, why was it just discussion or was it?
Oh, the fourth option was the two sales and use taxes were just merged into one.
Okay.
Just because what Joy was trying to do here was show what the funding would be.
Okay.
And so from just a money standpoint, it was the same, your impact on the consumer is the same.
Well, no, okay, I get that part, but that was something,
So those are two
mention of a parts only.
That would be part of it, so the.
That's what I was asking, because I see it says can only be used for what was voted on, so it's gonna be written into the.
Yes.
Okay, I think you said that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no-
then the-
Okay, never mind, that answers.
Yeah, and we written into the ballot,
Okay,
this goes.
that answers my question, okay.
And that's where, the $1 million we get designated tax. That's how we get that, and there's a portion of 2 pennies that's designated parks, so when it comes into the city budget, it can't be spent anywhere else.
Yes,
So, it's,
I get it, okay.
this would be, so basically. If that passed, we would be getting $4 million a year designated tax. And then our revenues, which gives us 5. So basically, we would sit down every year. And prepare a budget for $5 million. And with your help, prioritize all that spent and what we do.
If you got all the info that we request and need. And we presented it at the May council meeting. Does that still give it time to,
No,
Not for September.
not if Not if your recommendation is gonna be a sales tax or an A&P tax, it'd be too late.
But you did say we could do two,
Yeah, combination.
do a combination, so.
If you do millage,
Right,
Right.
Like it's written in here, basically. like
Yeah.
that.
Right. If you wanted to recommend the millage and the A&P tax,
That's what we should.
then you need to have that on the April agenda.
or, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
What do you think?
the only thing that scares me is that some of the people, some of the council members wasn't fond on designating. It just scares me not being able to designate it to, yeah, to where it needs to go. If it's just up free money for anybody or any organization, I mean, I'm not sounding greedy, but parks really is benefiting from it.
That's true.
it sounds like the millage is a piece that they are looking seriously at doing regardless of the rest. It's like that's something that has to be done. To basically break. Try and get close to breaking even, not really, but trying to get close, and then. I mean, I like the A&P tax if it can be designated to parks.
Right.
So that I like. So, because if I'm going up on millage and sales tax, I live here and you just increase how my,
No way.
exactly. Whereas if I do a millage and A&P, then
Right.
we know that the millage is a sure thing if the council votes on it. I mean, it's a sure thing because it can be voted on without having to go to the voters. And then A&P would have to be, but I go back to A&P having to be designated for parks.
Could that be? our
That's my
proposal?
option.
Could that be our proposal?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, a percentage of it for parks and rec.
And
To
we
me,
can
that's
tell
the
you,
best.
and Keith can tell you. Based on what is a percentage designated, what actually that would give the Parks Department, like what she has here is. What would cover our shortfall.
We need to look at what's going to do the improvements.
Mhm.
And if
Right, so
parks-
this gets us to where we are now, which is.
Because what I
operations.
I don't want it to come across that we're taking anything away from fire and police.
Correct.
Because as we have more people here, we have to have more fire and police. I mean,
Right.
that's the reality.
And the other part of that is we were the people to ask for.
I mean, I get that. I understood that, whenever that was being discussed. I mean, I fully understood that. Because we deal with
Not
that
that
same
that's
thing.
not important, but
But when you look at our numbers. and- Yeah, I get it. But to me, that would be the best. step.
If you went to Benton's
If I do.
1.5 on hotels and restaurants. Keith, can you give us the numbers on, we have 40%, can you give us the numbers?
Number one.
Up from there,
Yes. I think it's what? The Parks Department, if you designated 40% of that for parks, that would be $431,000 a year. If you did 1.5.
or. And it goes up,
Now, granted, some of that would be, we would not end up $400,000 in the net positive, because some of our general fund would have to go back to the general fund to alleviate the rest of that shortfall that's remaining after the millage increase. So.
that's what I'm saying.
Which would really be both of, that's basically net. Parks doesn't really have any
Yeah,
more
that
money,
gets us
that's
back,
just,
that
that's
gets
just,
us back to where we are now,
that's where we are at.
And that's at 40%.
that's at 40%.
Which Joy did those numbers, yeah, I mean, 1.5 for hotels and restaurants at 40% of parks is basically the break even number for parks in order to alleviate the deficit on the general.
So we're just like we are right now.
So we're just, except for there's really not the money there to go and ask for capital, because That's just the break even number on the general fund.
Where does the 3.8 put us?
3.8 millage increase. I think Joyce, that's 650,000.
And we need how much, $1 million?
Well,
About $1 million.
this
About
year,
$1 million,
yeah,
so
I think
400,000.
that-
Roughly.
But that's where that's where she's getting that for. So you get, so it's even easy numbers, 600,000 for the millage, 400,000 that was parks. A&P sends $400,000 to parks get $400,000 to that.
It's a wash.
It's a wash. Yes, that is a wash,
But at least we're not in the hole.
but you're not in the hole. That's right.
I mean, that's better. Millage and we're in the hole.
Yes,
The
that's right.
city's in the hole.
Right.
You're not doing anything.
But you're not, yes, that is the city break even number. Things can continue to go like they have, except for forecast right now is that there won't be the money in savings anymore for Chris to go and ask for
Right.
those.
Right.
That's just-
Without doing one of the, I mean,
Yes, but we could continue to maintain what we have.
right, even with A&P, the hamburger tax, you
Yes.
know, I mean, that's still your restaurants, but like you said, it's your choice if you go out to eat, whereas sales tax, that's hitting my groceries.
And then another little jab in is, like George expressed this, that the economy go down there and anywhere deep to
On which one?
all of it.
Yeah, I mean, really, and we, the schools, I mean, we fill that with millage, I mean, you know. Everybody thinks
So
that.
if if you go up from there, right, 50%, 60, 70, 80, 100% A&P. Obviously that takes us,
I mean, I would love to sit here and say, yeah, the city tax, I mean, that would be the best way to do it, if you can designate that for parks, but I don't see that happening. I don't know how much, I don't even think as much as you educate people, I think all they're gonna see is you're putting taxes on my grocery. I mean, I think that's what they're looking at.
And that's,
That's all they can do.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what, exactly.
and then with a double whammy on two different taxes.
That's
That's
strictly
not
on the
me.
patrons, exactly. There, it's gonna be a hard fight for you. Yeah. So, I mean, to me, that's, I mean, as far as what's best in my work is going to be the millage to get it, because I also don't want to support something that's not going to produce more than just not even break even. Like, I don't want to just support a millage when that's really not gonna do a lot, or at least not where it's at.
Same place for polluter.
Exactly. So, however, then you get into the A&P tax, it's gonna cost you money to run a campaign. And there's a lot of pieces to that, and the election.
On the election, you can use taxpayer money, campaigning and advertising. We'd be dependent on businesses can't use, on contributions to that, can't use taxpayer money. So we would need all partners on board.
I gave my 2 cents.
okay, good, thank you.
Half cent. I don't even remember how much.
Makes sense, so,
I can tell you where I was going with it. That's fine. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Your motion, so, I mean, what's your?
Ashley.
We were whispering against each other, but we were saying, is there a proposal to ask for the A&P tax to go 100% parks? I mean, would that be even something that we could push for? I mean,
you can't, the A&B tax, state law, can be spent for advertising promotions or parks. And within that, it can be spent for anything within parks.
So that's.
You said that state law?
State law, it can't be used like an AP tax money can't be used to pay for your city, your engineering department or your HR department or any general city stuff. It has to go to parks if you're gonna use AP tax money for city stuff. So,
It's gonna be designated.
but like Conway, 100% of its AP goes to parks. Now, they still have a commission. There's still a commission, but that commission oversees, the Parks Department reports to them on how we're bringing, tournament, like something like this. These are the tournaments we're bringing in. This is what's going on, reports back to that commission on how it's bringing people in the community.
And the commission can have say in how that money is spent for parks, but it must go to parks.
Oh, so I thought that was the issue.
Well- Well, that is, no, that's just an option. I mean,
That's if 100% is designated, like what you were saying, if 100% is designated, that's how it would run,
yes.
is parks and.
What was the breakdown the other 70% parks?
It's not-
There was
A
no
lot of, that was the,
Was there?
yes, it was not.
That
I thought it was wide open.
It was wide open. Benton was 70% park. Benton is 70% parks.
Yeah, but that is an option. The city of Bryant could take that to the voters, an A&P tax, 100% of parks. That's,
But our last, or the,
Council worship.
what, I wasn't at it, but at the council meeting, that was when a council member said no.
Well, yes, I mean, one council,
On the, wasn't it 100%?
No, it was 70%. He
70%.
said he didn't want 70% to go to parks.
the,
He wanted less than 70% to
well,
go to parks.
that's zero is less, so yes.
Yes.
But it goes back to, then council also needs to understand that that gets parks out of the budget, out of the city
Right.
budget.
Yeah.
And then that helps alleviate some of the city budget.
right. And I think you as a committee, speaking on behalf, I mean, you're appointed by the council and the mayor, speaking on behalf of the community, it's okay to say we would like you to consider this, knowing that some council members would be against that. Does that make sense? Like,
Okay.
that's their one person, one council member's opinion. The binding,
That's right.
the binding thing is their vote.
Yeah, right, that's true.
That,
And it's okay. It really is okay to have different opinions and
Yeah.
still.
yes,
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it really.
But we had a good one tonight.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, we can have that conversation and then at the end of the day. But if you don't say something, then you get what you get.
what's the number on that? 1.5% on each and 100% of parks?
$1 million. 1.1.
So that would basically put us at a
700,000.
put us at a $3 million budget a year.
Then we're at right now, what's our budget?
2.5.
That's better.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh, yeah.
that would definitely.
And I've heard I mean, I feel like council has been pretty vocal about they're fine doing the maximum on hotels. Because that doesn't really affect this.
We're getting more hotel accounts.
So if you did 1.5 in restaurants and 3% on hotels.
That's 1.2 million.
Where
So
are they going in? Where?
One's over there behind, Dave's Burgers,
Yeah.
somewhere in there, and then somewhere else.
I
really,
On that side of the interstate?
But I still think going back to the A&P, okay, say you do the A&P and we present that, I still think there needs to be a breakdown on what we'll do with that money to give to the people.
Yes, yes.
And I think that'd be good to break it down to give to the council members also.
But you really already have, right?
A master
with your
plan.
master plan.
Yes, we already have that. Well, I think with 3.2 million a year, yes, we could lay out a plan for improvements year by year. I think what I would, if I was planning long-term for the parks, then I would also think about the opportunity to reissue place in 2026 for any of the big major improvements like the park north of the interstate, if that makes sense. Like with what you're proposing, we could present the plan probably for what we've got planned for Alcoa 40, kind of what we're doing now, taking what we have and just making it better and better and better. And then propose, and down the road, 2026, or they kind of reissuing a bond, we do a $30 million park north of the interstate that we've already got plans for. Does that make sense? And so instead of looking at the sales tax, A&P tax as a way to really do the expansion, you just make sure you've got enough money year in, year out to do a really good job of maintaining what you have and making
keeping it up.
Yeah. Does that make sense? That's an easy, like I could have that plan to you in the morning. That's basically what we've been doing. So, yes.
So does A&P, does that influence the seniors? The Boys and Girls Club?
It could potentially, because you're getting us out of the general fund. The council could increase funding to those organizations if they saw fit. Yeah.
It wouldn't require the cuts.
Yeah, they keep their funding.
Right.
And we could, with that kind of budget, we could, certain things that organizations have asked for, like a complex bathroom, which is a big, the A complex is good.
So,
Go so far.
so if you designate 100%, and then the commission, the AMP and the commission would be the one controlling how that 100% is spent, also, along with input.
Yes. We'd be presenting plans year to year.
Right.
To the commission, and I would expect it.
And who appoints the commission?
The council.
So the council is going to appoint the people that are going to control that 100%.
2 council members, 2 members from the restaurant industry, 2 in the
That's what I
hotel,
was right now.
and 1 from 1 at large. But the system I would put in place is, I would work with you guys in the budgeting process to set the priorities, take those to the commission as this is Parks Committee recommends this.
Right.
And I think it'd be great because you'd have a whole lot more people eyes on it, involved in helping make decisions, set the priorities, which is always the challenge. Because everybody wants their thing to be first priority, which is fine. We want that. We want passionate people. But that's how I would go about it. I would keep you guys involved in that process for sure.
My opinion, I would love to see 100% go to parks. If you want the chamber on board or other groups that put on events in the city on board,
I think that would be impossible.
I think you go. I think you have to at least build some money on the table that they would be able to fight for. So 80% went to parks. They would still be able to come and ask for that 20% for their organization. So it may be easier to get them on board to help with advertising and support the A&P tax.
And with that, you can, the percentages, you do 2% restaurants, 3% hotels, and that ups the money as a whole. So, 90% of that is. Keith knows.
I'm sorry, which one did you
2%
want?
and 3.
2 and 3 and 90.
Yeah.
Instead of 1.5. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's for parks, that's 1.3 million. I mean, the restaurants is the majority of this, so if any fluctuation you do to restaurants, you're gonna see it.
Yes. More or less.
Yeah, and so that puts us where we were at 100%, just by moving those percentages up.
You see, here's another problem we have. Let's say a problem, an issue. You go out and you turn left.
Yeah.
And that goes to bed.
Yeah.
Same thing, her
So
family.
what you could do is put a barricade out there.
Yes, there you go.
No, I think if you. With an A and P tax, I think we would probably be able to work pretty closely with our A and P commission. To provide maps and resources and try to steer everybody that visits here towards our restaurants. That's all.
Right turn on.
Yeah, right, right, right. Put it up on.
That's right, turn.
Right turn on.
Take it down and then.
Yeah.
Okay, just leave it at.
Nice.
Yeah.
To the right. Okay,
All right.
so we're,
Right now, we see each other, so.
yeah.
Yes,
If we're not.
So we
about
need
it.
to-
You need to add it to the
I
agenda.
would suggest that you have a. First person come in and speak directly to the council. And we'll listen to them.
Are we?
During the open comments,
Cody's on it.
it could be the agenda.
Are you all adding? Yeah. We did add some.
Yeah, we need to.
Are you adding? a
I'm sorry, we're all starting.
I'm adding a motion.
motion? It's Cody, but Cody's making.
What's your motion?
First, we gotta make a motion to add
Yes,
the
to add.
agenda tonight. And then we gotta make a motion to go to the council.
We'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we amend the agenda for tonight to add a motion.
I said.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Alright,
Aye, all opposed the same? Okay. Motion passes.
so now we gotta make a,
That's
So
all.
now somebody else has to make a motion to the.
I make a motion to take it to council.
Your recommendation
in
go to
April.
council.
I recommend you.
Maybe it's recommendation go to council.
To go to council in April.
Yes,
Second.
Does it need to be on the agenda, Ashley? Have on the council's agenda in April? Have a recommendation, roasting committee, recommendation. On city council's agenda
That's what Cody did.
in
That's what
April.
he said. That's what he said.
Okay.
so, but are we going to,
I did say.
And then second.
yeah, let's.
Yes.
So- To get the bearings right, where Chris can help me and Renee. So we're gonna do 3% hotel. And then 2% to
Restaurant.
restaurants. That way get and do 80% to parks,
Okay, so.
just so. Just because like Ashley said,
Right, yeah, you gotta
we-
play, yeah, you gotta be, yeah, agree. Yeah, exactly. But, okay, but the 1.5%. If maybe Mac Benton's 1.5, we're saying, are you saying go to 3%?
hotels and 2 on restaurant.
and 2 on restaurants, that way it makes up the 20%. For that.
That's the 8.1. I'm
What you think on that, Jack?
The only thing, I mean, well, I thought about his comment earlier when he said it just make, but I agree with, I think we should
Right.
a shot, but it just makes it look like Brian has higher taxes than. Than Ben, but I still think it's worth, a shot, because that A&P is not gonna hurt us as much as it's gonna hurt. People coming into the city, so I like it.
What people really look at when we're looking at taxes, comparing taxes or the sales tax.
Okay.
You're looking at this, who has the highest sales tax?
So they're really not going to look at that A&P tax near like what they do.
They're like they would the sales tax.
So 5%.
Yes.
But yeah, just kind of one thing, because Benton and Brian are so close together, and right now, if you go in Benton, you're gonna pay a 1.5% increase on a restaurant in Benton that you go to Brian. Does that ever cross your mind whenever you're
I
deciding?
go eat it, I hate to say it, I go eat a good porn, I eat it.
And I mean, and I think I do, because I didn't know where.
Where, which one was this? Yes.
Don't need it Chili's, but you can eat it, what's the way you the calendars.
McAllister in the garage, it's Chili's, frying chili, which is totally backwards. Because Chili's is closed.
So what I have here in the minutes is Cody made the motion. Lynn seconded 30% on hotel, 2% on restaurants, 80% on parks, 80 feet.
You think the 2% would work, Jack?
I want all I get.
Are you also making a recommendation regarding the millage?
Cause. I mean, that's the council, my understanding, all the council is favored for the millage, pretty much, weren't they?
That's kind
The ones that spoke up.
The millage also doesn't go until September, it's not, doesn't have the same timeline as the.
Oh, that's true.
So, what they talked about was a first reading being in July for the millage, so you're still. Kind of got a little bit of-
Get that passed, where people don't think about it, and doesn't know.
Yeah. The millage vote won't be, the millage vote wouldn't be until after tax was voted on.
I about to say,
It'll be the same
Same month.
Same month.
September.
oh, you mean the vote of council, yeah.
Yeah, council at the September meeting where they have to settle the millage, they would know the outcome of any tax.
That's why I was wondering, we will know what the AMP, or whichever way, the AMP, because that's what we just motioned to go for. We would know if that passed before the council would vote on the millage increase.
Correct.
So April 25th.
I got it all.
Yeah, we do talk.
I'll be there.
I don't got nothing on the millage, just anything. In a minute.
Actually, we're gonna need you to stand up to your husband and tell him,
Right, actually, because I work late on Tuesday, this is, I had to take off tonight to be here, so I don't know if I'll be able to be there that night.
well, you need to do a lot of this playing. You heard a lot of this playing right now. Yeah, let's-
So all in favor of this motion? All opposed, the same? Okay, motion passes. And do we need to have a workshop before then?
We can. Of course.
I mean,
We can do whatever you want, yes.
so get out everything.
I can, if you wanna do that.
How do you feel? Do you want
Cause you want, what you saying, basically you can have some talking notes.
to- Yeah, so, I mean, like Richard's not here.
Yeah, I could, I just need to know what information you want ahead of time, so we have a
I
workshop.
mean, how do
I
you
can
feel?
give
Do you, how do you feel about that? Do you want to, or do you?
Man, I'm the newest person on it.
I-
Well, I figured that. Yeah, well, but I think he needs how this is going to impact parks
Yeah,
and why we're supporting that this is the best option.
I can, if it's okay with you guys, I'll get together with Cody
Okay, that's
and,
we can pass it along what we come up with.
Yeah.
Pass it along.
Okay, that's-
whatever information you need, we'll get it to him and give you guys, shoot you out an email before the meeting.
That's good, okay. Do we have any old business, new business, and do we want to jump?
I mean, should we adjourn?
Anybody second, anybody- anybody second? Okay, let's-